Hello everyone, and welcome back to Moosehead Observatory. Today we're going to go over the procedure on how to balance a fork-mounted telescope. If you look on the internet, there are lots of videos and instructions on how to balance an equatorial mounted telescope, but there's very few about how to do a fork-mounted telescope. Now, I did find a couple of write-ups, one by P. Clay Sherrod on how to balance a fork-mounted telescope, another one by Peterson, and then I also found one on the Starizona website. The one by Starizona, I think, has some problems. I don't think their procedures are correct. So we'll go and do our balancing in accordance with the Peterson and the Sherrod methods. So what we have here is a Celestron CPC 11-inch Edge HD telescope, and you can see I have a big dew shield here on the front of it, which will tend to make it front heavy. And then on the back of the scope here, we have a 2-inch eyepiece and a 2-inch star diagonal, an electronic focuser. And then up here on top we have a Telrad, and we also have our guide scope. Now, it is possible to have other accessories up here. You could have a much larger guide scope up here. You could also have a camera attached up here and various things like that. The procedures that we will go over are the same regardless of how much stuff you have on your scope. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is to put the fork arms so they're basically even from the ground, somewhat horizontal. Now, of course, the wedge is set at my latitude, and that really doesn't matter, but it does matter that your fork arms are level. Now we're going to take a look at the basic balance of the tube, just back and forth. And it appears to be a little bit front heavy. And I have this weight down at the bottom of my guide rail. This is a Los Mondi weight with a plate to attach it onto. So I attach that onto the bottom of the guide rail, and I have the weight screwed all the way up, level with the mounting bracket, and now I'm just checking to see if I'm front heavy or back heavy. I still appear to be a little bit front heavy, so I'm going to bring it back a little bit. It's very important that you only deal with one axis at a time, and that you start with the declination axis, and that is the axis that is going up and down like this. This is the declination clutch. The axis down here that rotates around like this is called the right ascension axis, and you need to do the declination axis first. We're still a little bit front heavy. So this is something that you just take your time at. And try to find the exact spot that has it as balanced as possible. You want to have all of your equipment on here, including your cables and whatnot that you're going to use, so that you're balancing this for real world applications. There we go. I can kind of hit the handle and it stops. I can hit the handle towards the eyepiece and it stops. So now we have balance of the tube going back and forth. Now we want to raise our tube up directly to the zenith. And I'll get over here and I'll look along the axis and see how it looks. Now we're going to adjust the Losmandy weight in and out of this threaded bar. We're not going to move it along the guide rail anymore. We're only going to move it in and out in order to balance the tube in the zenith. So I'm going to have to come back up here at the front again, and I'll have to loosen up the declination axis. And we're a little bit too heavy towards the bottom of the tube. So I'm going to lock off the declination axis. Okay, it's obvious that our scope is a little bit too heavy towards the bottom of the scope. So I'm going to add a bracket onto the top guide rail in order to add a little bit more weight to the top. There we go. Wow. So as you can see, I put the scope where it belongs and it stays there. So we didn't need to adjust this weight up and down the screw. All we needed to do was to add a little bit of weight onto the top of the scope. Now, had I had more weight on the top of the scope, like a camera or something like that, I probably would have had to screw this weight down along the threaded screws in order to balance everything. So now we're going to lock off the declination axis. Okay, so as you can see, I've moved the declination axis so that the scope is directly in line with the fork arms. And now I'm going to loosen the right ascension. And I'm going to see if it's balanced side to side. Okay, we're heavy on this side, and we're lighter on this other side. You can see how it wants to move over here. So in order to balance that, we're going to have to attach something on to the arm over here on the left-hand side. Do not put anything onto the optical tube. We're only dealing with the balance of the fork arms now. All right, let's rotate these arms around where you can see what we're doing a little better. And we're going to add some weight onto this handle. And this would be a time that it would be very good if you had like some lead weights that they use like for diving or something like that. A couple of ounces here and there. I don't have any right now. I'm probably going to order myself some, but I do have this clamp that holds a light, and so I'll see if that helps any. Okay, that balances our system. So the forks are now balanced, and we know the tube assembly is balanced. So that balances our fork-mounted telescope, and it gives you an idea of how to do it. Once you do this a couple of times, it will become much faster, and you'll become much more automated at it, and you'll also have enough accessories set aside to be able to attach things at various places to come up with a good balance. I think a good option here would be some little bags of lead shot, and then have maybe some zip ties that you just zip tie it to the arm over here or to the one over here, depending on how you needed to attach them. That's our video for today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would, please hit that thumbs up icon. If you haven't joined our channel, I hope that you'll consider joining, and we'll see you back here again very soon on Moosehead Observatory. Thank you so much, and goodbye.